Welcome in, everybody, to Stark Media High School Football Weekly here inside of the Presentation Center at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, presented by Hilscher Clark and the Eagles FOE 190. I'm TJ Downing, joined to the left of me here by longtime Jackson PA announcer Jim Bostic, resident Stark Media analyst on our Combat Sports Division. And to the left of him again is the one we call the natural here, Jeff Tyler, and his broadcast partner, all Big Ten offensive lineman from Michigan State and Perry Panther Hall of Famer Rod Strata. Well, I'm going to kick it here with you guys first because we got a lot to break down. We're already heading into week 3 here of Ohio high school football, and it's already starting to cruise by. And you guys down there to the left, Rod and Jeff, have had a chance to call the first 2 weeks of Jackson football. First week would be a tough one where they would lose to Mentor, Jeff, and then you had a chance to see him come back last week. And for anybody that didn't get a chance to see it or hear your call of the end of it there, and again, shout out to our good friends over there, Jeff Crocker and Keith Obermeyer, always taking care of us up in the press box. But what the young man Lucas Eckerman did last Friday night, that's what football is all about, right?
Really one of the best finishes I've seen, and to think that Lucas is a sophomore, what he did in that game was incredible. Week 1 and week 2 was really very similar with a couple adjustments, that Jackson made. They had a lot of trouble week 1 with the O-line getting in there. Lucas didn't have much time, but they still almost pulled that game week 1 out. Week 2, they made an adjustment, and they instead of going 5 wide, they brought the running back in and gave him some protection. He still did everything he did with less than 10 minutes of possession. So to only have the ball that many times and win that game, final was 36-35, but what was amazing was down the stretch, a minute 15 left, they're down 6 on their own 20 with no timeouts. Lucas just went 10, 12 yards at a time, first down, clock it. First down, clock it. Thrown out of bounds, stop the clock. He just marched them down.
Smart for a sophomore, right?
Unbelievable. Wow. Just poise. What was your saying, Rod? If you give him time, he throws dimes?
He'll throw a dime. There's no question in that one. I got to tell you, great teams execute every week. And you remember at the end of the game, we were fortunate to spend a little time with Jay Rohr. Not long. He was with his family. However, that team I can tell this team is inspired by him. They have great mental toughness. I'll give them that. And, if you look at the first game against Mentor, that defense kept him in the game.
Oh, absolutely.
And of course, Luke, the quarterback, Eckerman, he ran the ball quite a bit in game 1 against Mentor, which we talked about. I don't think it's going to be sustainable in every game.
Right.
However, game 2 against Mayfield, I'll tell you what, I'm extremely impressed as well. He's extremely poised for a sophomore. He's got great mental toughness. You got guys like he's throwing to Kyle Benson and Anthony Fuline, and then you got some running by, and then Jamal Phillips, right?
Yeah,
His crew.
It's a nice trio of skill guys right there.
That receiver core is no joke, and they make plays. Fuline one-handed all night long.
Yeah.
Down the stretch there, they threw what we thought was back-to-back touchdowns to win it. Called out of bounds.
Wow.
Footage later showed both had a foot it.
Wow.
So they scored literally, had first and goal, touchdown, then on third, on actually incomplete, and then through the out touchdown. To tie it, came in and kicked it.
For a young sophomore to be able to kind of stay locked in through all that, handling adversity, that's kind of one of those big catchwords they would always give us, Rod, right? You get to college, you learn those words that are going to kind of hang with you. Finish, handle adversity, because
right.
it's always going to kind of strike you. But, talk a little bit, too, about, you and Jeff highlighted a strong trio of skill guys and a great quarterback into making. But up front, I know you said it kind of lacked against Mentor. I know that, they're struggling to maybe find some size over there at Jackson, but I know that with Jay Rohr coaching them, they're never going to lack toughness. I mean, you look at their linebacking crew. You got Brocker, you got Warmoth out there. I mean, they're all just tough, hard-nosed guys like old Jay Rohr used to play football, and I think hopefully that will transition over the offensive line, right?
Yeah, if you see any of those pregame speeches Jay Rohr does, I will play for the guy any day. He gets them pumped up, like you said, the defense. Like back to what Rod said, week 1. The defense started in their own 20, in their own red zone 4 times and gave up, I think, 6 points.
Right.
Something like that. 9 points, something like that. So it was quite incredible to see that defense step up, take on the coach's mentality, and be all over it all night. But to your point about the offensive line, they were only against a 3-4 the first week. and that nose guard was getting in there all night long. They made some adjustments week 2, trued that up a little bit, brought the running back to help on those blitzes, and it really gave Lucas a lot more time.
Yeah, it did. I mean, regardless of the setup, a 3-4, nickel, 3-2, whatever they want to run, as far as defense goes, the key is those guys got to move their feet, and that is the key in blocking. Especially when Luke drops back, right? Mm-hmm. Give him that protection, and there's no question. There's mental toughness in Jackson.
Yep.
That's a given. I think it would be redundant going forward. At least for me talking about that, but. The O-line definitely needs to sync up a little bit. You're right, TJ. They could use some size, but
they're replacing a lot of parts from last year. So you talk about syncing and gelling. I mean, you know what that's all about. I mean, it's hard to get 5 guys in a line all on the same page, right?
Right. But I'll tell you this, and finishing up on the O-line, they did better against Mayfield. They're still struggling. Luke was still running for his life a few times.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
And then, but I'm going to go back to the defense again. That defense, I'll tell you what, Menor, they're on the field the whole game. I kept telling Jeff, these guys got to get a break. But they just hung in there. And then, lastly, on Mayfield, I mean, I tell you, Mayfield's a good team.
Yeah. Real good team. Yeah. Real good team.
Mayfield was running the ball at will. I mean, with the fullback.
He was hitting that.
They hand off to him. He's yards after contact, probably 4 or 5, TJ.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm saying is Jackson's got a great team. I think they're a sleeper as far as looking at that 1-1 record. And I saw a quote from, I think Jay was today or yesterday's paper where, he says, hey, look, folks, we're just 1-1. We have a long way to go, and we have to execute every game. And that's the attitude that will get him where he needs to go.
1-1 against 2 real good teams. They've made some adjustments. They're going to be a problem for the Federal League.
Menor Mayfield, that's a tough opener. And, things will start to shape up here week 4. Jim, I know that you're going to have that game where Jackson's going to host Green, and we know that Federal League play is going to start, but kind of skipping away from the Federal League here, one of the real, I guess you could call it the number 1 powerhouse in the area. You got a chance to get eyeballs on them last week. The Massillon Tigers dominated my Glen Oak Golden Eagles, man. We got our wings clipped a little bit over there at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium, right? And, to think about coming off the back of that big win against Valdosta, where you had the Northeast Ohio versus America showcase, that was a big win for them because they had to come from behind. They were trailing 14-0 early. You got to catch up. You got to stay locked in a game with the all-time winningest program in North America, and they did that. They found a way to win, which is huge early, figuring that out, but then really just nothing in the form of resistance from the Golden Eagles on Friday.
No, I'll tell you what, that game really, for Coach Moore, the thought there, the theme, the storyline is the story of 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, my partner Tim Budd was commenting prior to about, where it's kind of tough at times to play 2 quarterbacks. You're trying to find out, where you're going to go, how's it going to work. But I'm going to tell you what, guys. It don't matter which one of those 2 young men walked in, whether it was DeJuan Owens or Jalen Slaughter. I mean, they look like twins, to be honest with you. Both left-handed throwers, both threw the ball well, moved their feet well, commanded the offense. I mean, it was just absolute, and they alternated back and forth. Each series, here comes DeJuan, here comes Jalen. So, for them, I mean, Coach Moore has a real decision to make, whether he stays with that or, makes that final decision.
And that's tough because Slaughter's kind of been rocking the offense since he was a freshman, and now you've got a transfer that's come in there, and he's pushed you and seems to be the guy. But, the running game and that offensive line too, and we all know this, a great run game is going to benefit Lucas Eckerman as much as anything.
Yep.
A great run game is going to maybe sustain those 2 quarterbacks as they kind of figure it out. And I know that, seeing Pringle out of the backfield, I believe Lennox may have been a little bit banged up.
I'll tell you, the guy was Peyton Mitchell. Mitchell had 12 carries in that game, 127 yards. Whew. That's 10 yards a carry. Every time that guy touches a ball, he's moving the chains.
Yeah.
So, Dawson or DeJuan, he went 5 for 8, 125 yards, 3 touchdowns at a 33-yard long. But then again, you come right behind with Slaughter, 4 for 6, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he threw that 71-yard, touchdown pass. And, on the receiving end of that, you got Jaquez Carter, 3 receptions, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's the one that caught that 71-yard from Slaughter. And Kyler Wiggins, another one. 2 touchdown passes. I tell you what, like you said before, they're the
A lot
real,
of scoring
they're,
against the
they're,
Golden
the,
Eagles.
they're,
Huh?
the, they're the real deal, you know.
To the
But
tune of what, 56-7, I believe, right?
56-7. But I'll tell you what, Coach Garcia and his team's got to keep their heads up. I mean, you know, obviously, as you know, a lot of my background in wrestling, you know, you always want to wrestle the best. Same thing here. I'm sure
Right,
you guys,
right.
you want to play the best. They played obviously the best, not only in the state. My goodness, we're talking the potentiality of the entire country. For goodness sakes,
Yeah.
You know, and you know, his team did not, you know, quit. They kept going. You know, I think it was really important for them up to that last drive. You know, they were undefeated, and I know our defensemen out there, they love to keep that goose egg on the board.
Right. Yeah.
But you know, Cole Anderson, their quarterback, not to be denied, drove the team down, put some points on the board. Definitely something that they're going to build on. You know, they host Austintown this Friday night, and I'll tell you what, you know, Glen Oak, with the two Burt boys, Avante, Adrian, you know, two solid players. Anderson does well. Burt comes in, does a little quarterback. In fact, he had a great series that he ran. You know, what I say, even though you said, you know, kind of a tough game, to me it was a game of mistakes and misfortunes, right? I mean, it seems like they'd be pulling something ahead, and a penalty, something would happen, or misfortune. I mean, Adrian Burt is doing a great job driving down, has the ball going into score, gets tackled, fumble, ball kicks free, touchback, turnover. You know, I mean,
Those are the things that'll really hurt you.
Just heartbreaking, But I know Coach Garcia is going to have them ready this week for.
You guys will have that call for us on the Stark Media Team YouTube channel. So we'll have Austintown Fitch and the Glen Oak Golden Eagles. And before I kind of break down a couple of things that I got a chance to see, let's talk about one more, and we'll kind of stick with kind of some of our Apex Surgical injury updates, which I know was probably tough for the Hoover Vikings this past weekend, and sticking to another wrestling theme. I know that A.J. Dolph broke his thumb in that ball game, still had 13 tackles. There's your wrestler mentality.
There you go, brother. There you go.
You know, and I believe Mitch Gregory also did not play. So there's 2 out of your 4 starting secondary guys, you know, and Hudson was able to really have their way with them.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, you know, you go to that game there, and again, you know.
And bouncing back, partner, off of you guys calling that Bookdale game, where that was a nice opening win for the Vikings.
No, I'll tell you what, the Bookdale game, it was an exciting game, right? I mean, you know, beautiful night over there at Don Hertler Senior Field, over at Memorial Stadium. Final score 27-21, but I'll tell you what, it went down to the last possession, right? I mean, Bookdale, of course, both teams coming back from a great, you know, 2022 season. You know, Hoover kind of bounced back and forth. And I'll be honest with you, at one point, score was 20-7, right? And I told Tim, I said, Tim, you know, I'm whispering, I think it's going to be tough to come back. Boom! All of a sudden, 79-yard kickoff return by Zaire Lewis for the Griffins puts it in. Now we're 20-14. You know, they bounce back. Brocker takes a 1-yard touchdown run in. 27-14 again. I'm like, okay, well, you know, because we're now in the fourth quarter, kind of kicking down. Oh no. Stevie Sticks goes back, drops in a 76-yard touchdown pass, quick strike. It's 27-21, right? So they're in strike.
Stevie Diamond's a great player.
Oh,
really
you know what? They call that kid Sticks. I mean, are you kidding me? He's like 225, you know, stick. I got a stump, man. I mean, he's a beast. But then, you know, they get the ball back. Bookdale does. They got a chance to come back through with it, you know. But I'll tell you what, hats off to the defense of the Vikes, man. I mean, they came in, put the pressure. Stevie takes a turn, slips, loses the ball, you know, and that was it. But I'm going to tell you what, right there at the end, Bookdale had a chance to score. It was an exciting night, an exciting game. And, good first week for both teams.
Week 2, not a good follow-up for the Vikings, but I know they're going to look to get back on the winning side of things. Coach Baum doing a good job over there. And I know, Jeff, when you talk about some balance there, I mean, it's one of those things you see an exciting game. You had a chance to see the Griffs when they were down there in Dayton, right?
I did.
Playing for the state championship.
When it brought
was
home
Stevie on that team?
He was. He wasn't necessarily, you know, one of the starting 5, but they did a rotation, so he was definitely on the court, and they got a chance to repeat in that too. So they might go back to back.
Wow. Some good ball going on there at the CLC. All right, I had a chance to get eyeballs on the Perry Panthers 2 times now. They fell last week. Your Perry Panthers, big time. I'll tell you what, week 1, got it done. You know, they were able to put it on to Central Catholic Crusaders, but St. V came in last week, and they saw what Ryder Hartshorn did to Central, and he got outside to the tune of 208 yards. Now, I keep running back to when we saw him at the St. Paris Graham duel match, and he comes out there, and it's like, is this a human being? Like, what planet did this guy come from? He's like chiseled out of granite.
Absolutely.
Right? And so he tunes up the Crusaders in week 1, 208 yards. St. V was not going to let this guy get the edge. And you know plenty about the wing tee and that system over there that, they just made a concerted effort that they were not going to let 25 get outside and run on them. They weren't going to care if the running back got a couple of those little ones up the middle or a couple of those little fullback dives. They were going to be satisfied with that, and I think that was ultimately the winning recipe for a 16-14 victory for St. V. They almost beat Perry at their own game. They control the clock and quicken the game, right?
Yeah, TJ, I didn't get to see the game. Of course, you were there, but I did see some highlights online, and it looked like Perry turned the ball over a little bit as well.
Yeah, yep. Had a couple of them. So you can't do that,
No,
especially
you
at
can't.
home
It's tough
and
to come back.
in a tight ball game like that. So
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Perry, they lost their last 5 games last year in a
Yep.
row, right? And so hope Coach Slates can get that turned around. I think we're scheduled their next week, right, Jeff?
I think, we may be
Perry
at the McKinley Perry
get a
game
chance
there.
to see the Bulldogs.
at
So,
Perry.
man, I'll tell you what, Federal League opening up here in Week 4, Week 3 coming up. And I had a chance to see, before we get to that, the Alliance Aviators. And you want to talk about a great quarterback. I mean, the young man
Oklahoma,
going to Oklahoma. So it sits right now. I don't think he's going to change again. It started Syracuse and obviously everything going on up there at Northwestern. Bowed out of that situation, and Oklahoma seems to be the landing spot for Brennan Zurbrugg. And I'll tell you what, the young man's on fire. They, the way they were able to win that game against Lake, it was just a ballsy effort, man. 12-7. He's laying out his body on 4th and 3 to get the first down. You know how that endears yourself to your offensive line and your teammates, and
Right.
I think having a nice victory against Niles as they start to look to make their run, the Aviators. Coach Goodman's got a really good team, guys. And Aiden Mosden leading the big boys up front.
I'm surprised that they're only ranked 69th, to be honest, in the state. I mean, you look at Green, who's 38, McKinley 31, and they're 69.
Yeah.
I don't think they're 30 spots below those two teams. I really don't. Might even be a little bit higher, depending on the night. I mean,
well, we'll see. I'll tell you what, if Brennan Zurbrugg has anything to say about that, with talk about great skill guys around him, Ramir Hawkins, Kayvon Davis.
Ramir Hawkins is not big, but that kid can fly.
Yeah.
I saw him in some scrimmages.
And his
last
brother,
season.
Rayvon. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some talent out there.
A lot of yak yards with those two.
Yep. So big things on the horizon for the Alliance Aviators, and big things on the horizon here for Stark Media High School Football Weekly right here inside the Presentation Center at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. All right, quick shout-out to a couple of our sponsors, Lindsay's Pizza, McNeil & Sons Tree Service, LPL Financial, H&H Truck Parts, C.H. Vallis & Associates, Apex Surgical, and our good friends at Hilscher Clark Electric Company and the Eagles FOE 190. All right, we will be back with more after this. We'll be coming back. We're going to talk a little Canton South Tuslaw, a little Fairless Green, and we'll talk McKinley Bulldogs and the Glen Oak Golden Eagles. More after this right here on Stark Media's High School Football Weekly. The Fraternal Order of Eagles number 190 in Massillon wants you. Stop down to the Massillon ARE at 303 Wyrick Boulevard Northwest. And like our over 1,800 members experience daily, your Eagles membership will give you access to great food and drink specials. Having a party? Host it in our banquet facility and seat up to 400 people. When you're coming through downtown Massillon, stop by the Eagles and sign up. And for a small fee, you'll have access and be a part of a fraternity that donates over $100,000 a year to local charities. The Fraternal Order of Eagles ARE number 190 in downtown Massillon. Stop by or call us today at 330-832-7385. Power outages can happen at any time without warning and can leave your home powerless for days. Hilscher Clark has partnered with Generac to bring you the #1 selling home standby generator brand, engineered and built in the USA since 1959. With a home standby generator, your home will never lose power again. Generac generators activate automatically in the event of any power loss and restore power to your home within seconds. Don't leave your home unprotected. Trust only the best. Hilscher Clark's residential division are experts in their profession and go above and beyond to provide you with quality, efficient service at a fair price. Starting with the estimate, they keep you informed regarding status and completion of your projects. They also give you shorter arrival windows and send you email and text confirmations of your scheduled service appointment, as well as notifications when their electricians are on their way to your home. Hilscher Clark's Google reviews speak for themselves, with more than 270 reviews and 4.9 stars. And if you've just recently purchased an electric vehicle but don't want to rely on public chargers to keep your battery full, Hilscher Clark has all the juice you can handle for your home vehicle charging needs. Hilscher Clark is a certified Q Merit Solutions partner, making them market leaders in electrification and recommended by local dealerships. Visit them online at www.hilscher-clark.com. That's HILSCHER-CLARKE.com. Or stop down and see them at 519 4th Street Northwest in downtown Canton. Or contact Hilscher Clark today at 330-452-9806. That's 330-452-9806. Remember, it's your home, it's our family. Trust only the best. Hilscher Clark Electric Company. You came to Stark Media for the best? Well, now you got it. Check out Lindsay's Pizza on 2827 Whipple Avenue Northwest inside of the Hillsdale Shopping Center. The preferred post-game pizza of the Stark Media team is open until 11 p.m., and it has all the essentials for game day. Pizza, chicken, salads, and sandwiches are just a click away at lindsayspizza.com. But you should trust the former Ohio State All-American and just call them right now at 330-477-3800. 477-3800. This is TJ Downing for Lindsay's Pizza, and I approve this message. Welcome back into the presentation center at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm TJ Downing, joined by Jim Bostic, Jeff Tyler, and Rad Strata here on Stark Media High School Football Weekly as we kind of recap some things that we've seen over the past 2 weeks, and we'll talk about some teams that we're going to get a chance to see here coming up in Week 3 of Ohio High School football. All right, guys, as we move along, let's talk about two teams locally here, Canton South and Tuslaw. All right, so Canton South, I'm going to get a chance to see them. They're going to head down to Sandy Valley this Friday night, and they are led by Poochie Schneider. And, you know, I know we just talked about a lot of quarterback play in the first segment of the show, but Poochie Schneider, a guy who's committed to Sacred Heart, I believe.
Sacred Heart just recently picked up an offer from Army.
Okay, so, you know, I know that people are always going to talk about the measurables when it comes to not only a Division I athlete but a quarterback. You know, they want to have height. I'll tell you what. That young man's got it going on. I mean, when he fires the ball, you know, I had a chance to see him Week 1 last year, and that's going back a ways now already, over a year, and just uncorking like 60, 70-yard bombs in the air.
Wow.
Right.
You know, and that's something.
Dropping them in.
That's something that just it doesn't grow on trees. You know, that's just a natural talent.
The only thing keeping this kid from having 15 D1 offers is his height.
Yeah.
That's it. He's got every other intangible, no doubt.
I don't know if I'm correct, but his passing percentage seems to be outstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the
He's
mid-60s, 70s, I mean.
He's approaching Stark County record numbers, right?
He's
Yardage-wise?
Right.
He is, yeah.
He's thrown, 277 so far? 2 games.
Okay.
Right? And or more. I'm sure that's probably off. He's got some pretty good receivers, too, right? Lucas, Giuliano and Chad Davis, it seems like they're his go-to guys.
Yeah, you know, the young running back that transferred in there is Culver. Zion Culver played last year. I know that they kind of replaced some guys up front too. But, you know, Coach Dennison's got a really good team. Coach Dennison's been around a long time, Jim, and one of those guys I think just when he leads a team, the respect factor is there, and you're just going to instantly, when you have respect, discipline, little attitude and toughness mixed in, you're going to have some type of success.
No, absolutely. I mean, you know, kind of that mentality starts with the head coach. It bleeds down, you know, into the athletes. Going back to what you said, right, about Jay over there at Jackson. I mean, when those coaches come up, they get you fired up, not planning for the game. I mean, it's amazing, you guys as players, but I listen to a lot of my buddies as coaches, the hours and hours they put in. They take that, they transfer it. Man, and to fire that team and get that team ready to go Friday night is incredible.
And 92 points in 2 games.
Oof.
Right?
They can put them up.
And I failed to mention Travion Castle. You know, all Ohio last year as a junior. So I think Canton South's pretty stout.
Yeah, now they're going to go down there and they're going to take on Sandy Valley this weekend, and you know, Sandy Valley's going to have to be ready to go, strapped up, you know, to be able to slow down that output of points. But you know, another small school area team that we want to highlight, the Tuslaw Mustangs. Jeff, I know you've had a chance to. I believe you were out there last year for the Fairless Tuslaw game.
Yep.
And you know, I know another big fella that will get Rod and I excited here, man. Our guy Chaz Gradowski, just a mauler, man. 300-pounder, coming around the edge, lead blocking, you know. And when you have size like that, you know, one of our Trench Life Warriors that was training out there with us this year, Joe Carter, big guys at small schools, that also usually equals success too.
I stay in contact with Chaz a little bit on social and talk to him quite a bit. And I told him, I said, your nickname needs to be Pancake, because every time I see you on films, there's one or two guys on the pavement. It's because of you. But yeah, he's a big kid, smart kid, working real hard. I think he just even picked up an offer from Harvard.
Yeah, he's got an offer to Harvard.
Yeah.
And
That's great.
It's very, very smart.
Listen to some of these themes, guys, right? Army, Harvard. You talked about the young man having an offer from Alliance from Northwestern. I mean, academically, man, does that not say? I mean, student athletes. That's what it's all about, right?
It really is.
And God bless those young men for keeping those grades up in the classroom. And
The administrator coming out.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. Yeah.
Well,
hey, it's right. Student athlete
Twitching,
first, right?
man, I'm twitching.
You can't do one without the other.
No, that's why it says student
Part of the
athlete,
deal.
right? Student first, athlete second.
in contrast to the quarterback from Canton South, Poochie Snyder, the quarterback for Tuslaw, Ethan, I pronounce Hayer, Haer. He's at 45% completion. So when I was doing a little research there, I think they're trying to get that completion percentage up.
I know they seem to be heavy run. Trying to. I know they do a lot of pulling guard action. Get behind big 76 and find your way.
Yeah. So hopefully they'll, they're playing Riverview, and this is interesting. Riverview lost their first two games, 109-6.
Ooh,
ouch.
How about that?
That's one you want to get right there. You don't want to lose that one.
I'll say one more thing about Chaz, that, in today's day and age when these kids transfer out, go here and go there, Chaz had plenty of opportunity to do that. And the kid stayed home. He said, I want to play with my guys. It's my senior year. I'm going to stay here and make it work. I'm going to be a leader. Awesome. I'm going to lead from the front, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. I think that's huge.
No.
Another team, Jeff, the Fairless Falcons, that's your old stomping grounds, man. A.J. Sarball trying to getting things figured out after week one. I know that was a game that you were out on, and they would lose to Sandy Valley, and that was a tight one. It came all the way down to the end as well. And I thought what was cool about that was when that thing was knotted up 14-all, then it was Fairless that scored first, broke it, and they went for two, right? And then they forced Sandy Valley to have to go for two to make it 22-all.
Correct.
And ultimately it would end up being 28-22,
I believe was the final. Yeah, but, Sandy Valley, you talked about them going against Canton South. Sandy Valley reminds me of Fairless last year, where they've got the weapons. They can go five wide, and they do go five wide all night. Got a quarterback that can sling it, and they've got talent on both sides of the ball. Fairless, as we knew, they've come off their best 3 years in school history. If they go 6-4 this year, it'd be the first time in school history that they've had 4 winning records in a row.
Wow.
Now, we knew what they were up against. They lost 18 seniors in the best class in their school history. Lots of studs, lots of athletes out there. So they still got Colucci back. They still got Killy back. My concern after seeing the scrimmage, and then they did a good job defensively against Sandy Valley, but, there's a lot of holes there on the defense, a lot of young guys they're playing. So they seem to give up a lot of missed tackles, a lot of yak yards, things like that. So if AJ can clean that up, Coach Sarball, I think they'll be okay. But they've got to get some wins here soon. I mean, they've got they've got Claymont next, Triaway Northwest. I think they can possibly get all 3 of those.
Yeah.
Then they go into Orville, Canton South, CVCA, all pretty good teams, and you're going to have to show up for those 3. So we'll see what happens. See if they can get to 6-4. I'm a hometown guy, but I'm still
Homer 'em, man. Come on, plant that flag.
I'm hoping they can get there, get in playoffs, and then keep building that program, man.
Real quick shout out to Fairless. You probably know longtime Superintendent Brock Bidlack retired this past year. So shout out to Brock. Great job leading that district and getting things out there. New high school going on out there.
Yep, that's nice.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Really changed that campus. So Brock, man, enjoy retirement, brother. Good for you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, you're showing my age. Fairless was one of the original members of the Federal League when I was.
You got to tell us your age, Ron?
High school football. No, I just turned
He
37.
He just did right there.
37.
Not a whole lot of people out there know that Fairless is in the Federal League.
I knew about it. I read about it.
It was in the history books, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
Houghton Mifflin.
Oh, man, good stuff.
One of those leather helmets I had is over here somewhere. I saw.
Yeah, we had a chance as we rolled in here to the Pro Football Hall of Fame today to get a chance to see Joe Burrow's gear. Had his helmet out there. Had some replica cleats and had the old throwbacks, the leather helmets and the leather footballs.
How'd you get Ron not to put that on, man? He was on his way.
I know, man.
Huh?
Well, if you guys can't tell, I didn't play with one much.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He saw the Jim Kelly and Evil Knievel motorcycle, and he started going over that way, man. Slap a set of shoulder pads
Yeah.
on him, man. Let him
Yeah.
ride that thing out and take off up the
Exactly.
highway. 77, watch out, man.
Right
He's on his way.
Put the cape.
All right, so speaking of a team actually right here on the campus of the Hall of Fame Village, Canton City Schools right here, the McKinley Bulldogs located right off of 77, man. You can see them playing inside of Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. Actually, Tom Benson Stadium, as I was corrected last week when I was doing some PA duties, I had no idea that even though it says Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium inside of the stadium,
Right.
contractually, it's Tom Benson Stadium. So we'll call it Tom Benson Stadium. I correct myself. I always stand corrected sometimes. But
Did you
McKinley,
get your hand slapped?
yeah, I did. I
Didn't lose your credentials.
I also had to figure out the difference between Edward and Eds, so one gets an S, the other doesn't, but that's all right.
That's all right.
So, hey, the McKinley Bulldogs, they took one on the chin from Avon, 28, I believe it's 28-7. They were able to come out and get a good victory, opening weekend victory in that 60th matchup with the President's Cup there with Warren Harding. But they're going to have to go down to Dublin-Kaufman this weekend. Not an easy trip. Trying to bounce back after losing 28-7. I mean, that's a taste that Antonio Hall is going to want to get out of his mouth pretty quick, right?
Absolutely. I think the Bulldogs definitely need to strap it up and see. They need to get back in the hunt.
Yeah. I know that run game, Jeff, they're going to want to get that going with Nino Hill.
Yeah, Nino Hill's no joke. If they can create any kind of a hole for him, he's going to find it and get through there. And
I mean, the young man back over summertime, he's up on campus with Luke Fickle at Wisconsin. You know, they're expecting big things out of him, but again, it comes down to the boys up front, right?
Yep.
The hole's only going to open up as big as what some of those guys do up there. And I know that Dior Gardner is one of the guys that they're leaning on. He's getting recruited heavy, and really it just comes down to executing, right?
It comes down to a common theme for a lot of schools. Last year we were very, very heavy with a lot of veterans on the lines, offensive, defense.
Yeah.
There's almost every school seems to have lost their entire line, and now they got to adjust. They're going 4 wide, 5 wide, trying to figure it out, trying to do quick outs, things like that. Dante McKinley is no joke.
Yeah.
The kid is the real deal. So if they can get those two going, I think they'll be okay. I like to look at, they're playing Avon, who I think is 6th in the state, something like that. They're playing tough teams. By the time they get into the Fed, they're going to be battle tested.
Yeah. For me to see just kind of the evolution of a season, Jim, we've gone through a lot of different broadcasts before, through the winter seasons, through the spring, through the fall, and you see the roller coaster that you can kind of ride. And I know that McKinley's hoping that they don't go through that. I know they've went through it before, and when you have big-time leaders up there, guys that are, USC doesn't just come around offering guys, out of nowhere. Just like Oklahoma doesn't come out of nowhere and start offering guys in Stark County, So
Absolutely.
Dante's got an offer like that underneath him, but you want to avoid trying to ride the roller coaster wave, even though we know at the end of 10 weeks they're going to be taking 16 teams, So
Right.
sometimes you can be sitting there hovering right underneath 500 and still qualify for the playoffs. What you do from there, whether you have to go and face St. Edward might be a tough road trip when you're sitting there number 16, but you do what you got to do. You strap it up and see what happens. But, one team that always can kind of ride the roller coaster around here, and it's because they're always stepping up and playing tougher opponents and bigger opponents, is Central Catholic. They're not afraid to play Jackson, which they've been playing every year. They're opening up with the Perry Panthers. They're fighting outside of their weight, so to say, aren't they?
Right. No, absolutely. And, going back to that, also, I saw a couple quotes, from the Glen Oak, where people were saying, quit playing Massillon, quit, why are you going to do this? They don't understand. It's same thing with Central. You don't understand. Tim made a great point to me. He goes, Jimmy, there's 17 teams, Division I. You get a win, two. The number of teams that go into the playoff, get yourself a couple of wins. You're going to find yourself, and what do we say about the playoffs, right? Once you're in, just get me in. You get on a roll, things happen. So, Central, same mentality. Tough guys over there, right? Absolutely do a great job. Same mentality. Give me a few wins. I'm going to come into that playoff, and who knows what can happen from there.
Right. And, Jeff, if you're hanging with D1 teams and then all of a sudden you get into a lower division bracket, you should be running through guys, right?
And I think that's got to be the message from these head coaches. Look, we know that we're playing outside of our weight. If we can do this X, Y, and Z against these guys, to even close to what we want to do once we get into playing in our own weight class, if you will,
right?
they'll be right there. I think the only challenge becomes keeping guys healthy through that, keeping kids' heads right through that. I'm sure Coach Garcia's got to really do some extra talking this week to get the kids ready for this week. Fitch after Massillon, so those are my only concerns. But I do like the fact that teams play big schools like that and get battle tested, and then you get in your own division against your own guys, and then you can put it on somebody.
Well, Rod, that's quick turnaround, right? I mean, I'm sure you've went through that many of times during your playing career where, you suffer a setback, and we learn a lot about ourselves through losses.
Right.
But there's really no time to sit there and cry, poor me, because you better be ready for an Austintown Fitch coming in. If you're not ready for T.J. Parker and Austintown Fitch after dropping a tough one to the Tigers, or if you're Perry and you just dropped a tough one to St. V, and you're not ready for Week 3, then the McKinley Bulldogs, you got to go down there to Dublin Coughlin and kind of resurrect what went wrong. There's not a whole lot of time. We always know that's our redemption, right? Is the next Friday or the next Saturday. You got to wait a week, but there's your opportunity, right?
Well, it's all in learning too. I mean, losses are hard; they sting. But I understand how the fans might not want teams to play harder teams. However, let's just say a team plays less, competitive teams, and they're have a great record. First game in the playoffs, are out.
Yeah.
Right. So, great teams execute every week. And I just know that losses are, like as I mentioned, it's hard to lose, but you learn from it. And you get inspired from it. And what's great, I can remember times being the underdog of 17, 20 points going down a little town in Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
And just,
cranking them.
Coming out of there with that spot on our favor.
Yeah.
Right?
Going out there with your head held high.
We didn't need the points. So you got to play good teams to get better. There's no question. But the key is you need to learn from it and keep the kids motivated and get them to where they want to go.
Yep, got to stay dialed in.
And it's, that's the beauty of sport, right? It's what's between the ears. What are you going to do with those? We talked about that a lot during the season, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so mental, and it doesn't matter what sport, right? What are you going to do with those 6 days, as you said, before Redemption Friday? Am I going to sit and sulk, or am I going to go back and say, listen, all right, strap it up. Let's get back to practice. Let's make it happen. Don't stay down, man.
Yeah.
Regroup, gather up, man. Get ready for Monday and prepare for Friday.
That's why I think football is one of the ultimate gladiator sports because, I was a heavy baseball guy. If I went 0 for 3, 0 for 4, I'm usually playing the next night or the night after.
Yeah, get over it
and
quicker.
I can get over that pretty quick.
Sure.
When it's football, you take a hard loss. You got a solid week to sit on that.
Yeah.
So,
And you got to be mentally tough. That's the key. Is you got to keep those kids motivated, keep them focused.
Get stuck in your crawl, man. You got to wait to spit it out there. But Friday night gives you another opportunity underneath those lights. And
lights come on, baby. Let's make it happen.
Can't wait for it. All right, here we go. We're going to get a chance to talk about some more teams coming up, some games that we're going to get a chance to go out and call here this weekend. So stick with us right here on Stark Media High School Football Weekly inside of the presentation center at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, presented by Hilscher Clark Electric Company and the Eagles FOE 190.
McNeil & Sons Tree Service serves the greater Northeast Ohio area by keeping your property clear all year round. Do you have trees that have stretched too close to your home? A rotted tree that has to go? Or perhaps even storm damage? No job is too big or small for McNeil & Sons. We specialize in large tree removal, storm damage, stump grinding, land clearing, and more. McNeil & Sons Tree Service is fully licensed and insured, so contact us today at 330-606-1126 for all your tree care needs. Or visit us online at mcneiltree.com to schedule your free quote. The professionals at McNeil & Sons can inform you of your tree health and give you a risk assessment to keep your family protected. So call today, 330-606-1126. McNeil & Sons Tree Service, a company you can depend on with family you can trust.
At C.H. Vallis & Associates, we've been proudly serving the greater Stark County community for over 78 years. Locally owned, we cover your home, auto, business, and life insurance along with your group benefits. Our partnership with auto owners has allowed us to span not only Ohio, but throughout the entire country. Did you know that Auto Owners, an A++ rated company by AM Best and a Fortune 500 company, has ranked C.H. Vallis & Associates a top 10 insurance agency in the state of Ohio? From your basic home and auto needs to insuring some of the largest companies in America, there's a reason people choose C.H. Vallis & Associates and Auto Owners. Our dedication and passion for our clients and their coverage is part of our commitment to excellence. For all your insurance coverage needs, there's only one call to make, and that's C.H. Vallis & Associates, located at 1302 South Main Street in North Canton. Contact us at 330-494-2776 today and see the difference in customer satisfaction. The leader in quality drivetrain components, H&H Truck Parts is a name you can trust. Located in Valley View, Ohio at 5500 South Cloverleaf Parkway, H&H can handle all your heavy-duty truck needs. Come in and exchange your transmission, differential, or power steering gearbox. But that's not all. H&H is equipped to handle all your parts needs. Permco pumps, Muncie PTOs, Neapco U-joints, Spicer yokes, new Eaton clutches, and more. Let the professionals at H&H Truck Parts handle your transmission or differential installation in one of their 6 service bays. Specializing in drivetrain repairs, stop by and have your drive shaft balanced, flywheel resurfaced, or your clutch installed alongside the best transmissions and differentials on the road. You know why they're the best? Because H&H is Ohio's largest purchaser of Eaton Fuller parts. Need a blower or a pump? H&H distributes Paragon and Permco brands. Names you can trust with your livelihood on the road. Call H&H Truck Parts today for the leader in heavy-duty truck parts and service. Call locally at 216-642-4540. Toll free at 800-601-4540 or check them out online at hhtruckparts.com. Welcome back in on Stark Media High School Football Weekly. I'm TJ Downing, joined by Jim Bostic, Jeff Tyler, and Rod Strata here inside of the Pro Football Hall of Fame in the Presentation Center, presented by Hilscher Clark Electric Company and the Eagles FOE 190. And while we have a chance, we want to talk about some of our Hilscher Clark Electric players of the game. Myself, I've had a chance, obviously, to tell you about Ryder Hartshorn, who tuned up the Crusaders to 208 yards on the ground and was our Hilscher Clark Electric player of the game in Week 1. Following that up, that was a Thursday night game. Friday, we had Brendan Zerbrug for his great performance against Lake. And then last week, I had a chance again to see Perry Panthers take on St. V. So we had to obviously go the other way. We went St. V. DJ Johnson ran for 86 yards on the ground and really was kind of the difference maker. Jimmy B, couple guys that have really stuck out to you. I believe one of them was Mr. Ashby there over at
Absolutely.
Hoover. A guy we didn't talk about. He's an electric player.
No, and that's a great point. I didn't bring him up, but Mason is all over the doggone field, man. I mean, punt, return, kick, return. I mean, this kid is everywhere. And Tim and I talked about it, and at the end of that game, again, I didn't throw any of his stats down there, but he stood out, in that game. So number 3 for the Hoover Vikings, Mason Ashby, was our Hilscher Clark Electric player of the game. And then you went into Week 2, right? And like I say, tale of 2 quarterbacks. And Tim and I were looking at each other like, okay, we're going down the line.
I had a lot of guys you could choose from.
Well, there was, and I'll tell you what, you told us to pick one, but we couldn't do it. Brother, we couldn't do it. We had to, we went with both the quarterbacks, man. I mean, again, those 2 guys, DeJuan Owens, Jalen Slaughter, we chose both of those young men as our Hilscher players of the week, electric player of the week. Yeah. So congratulations to those 3 young men for the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, like you, we were torn in the first week. Jackson Menor. I mean, we definitely wanted to go for some of the guys on Jackson. It could have been the Jackson defense. It could have been Fueline, who had 3 touchdowns and probably the catch of the year to this point. Yeah. One-handed, over the top, brought it in, catch. TD. It could have been Lucas Eckerment, but we had to go with Grant Cerny for Menor, who really stepped up at the end there and really caught some key passes and kept their chains moving that really got them the win. So we had to go with that route. Week 2, it was a no-brainer. It was Lucas Eckerment was lucky to do what he did was some Tom Brady stuff I have never seen at the high school level. So we had to go that route.
Yeah, we did, but I'll tell you, it could have been the entire team.
Yep. Could have been Warmath. Could have been the defense.
There's so many players that could have won that award, but
I know Kyle Benson stuck out last week too.
Benson as well.
It was a fantastic team effort, but like I said, you give Luke time, he'll throw the dime.
There it is, man. I'll tell you what, a team that
T-shirts.
loves yeah, there we go. Trademark it. The guy who loves to throw the ball around the yard, Mark Geis, my old nemesis from the Hoover Vikings, old number 75, coach of the Green Bulldogs, and they've been spreading it out and throwing it around the yard now, Jeff, for quite a few years, and he's had some success there. He's had some nice quarterbacks come through. I want to remind you, too, tomorrow night, check out the Great Midwest Digital Network. We'll be out there live with the Walsh Cavaliers as they get set to open their season in Division II college football as they take on West Liberty. I know that the connection there with the Green Bulldogs a little bit disappointing that Trevor Van Horn had transferred in there to Walsh, but he's going to be lost for probably the entire season as he injured himself during his conditioning test. I know there was an injury from last year that may have kind of been lingering, but I know that they're hoping that he's back up to full speed soon because what a presence he was for the Green Bulldogs when they made their run and all the way to the state Final Four. The Green Bulldogs, coached by Mark Geis. Jeff, tell us a little bit about what they've done thus far as they're getting ready to start making their run inside of the Federal League.
Yeah, they lost Robbie Klockner, who was one of the best quarterbacks in the county last year. 2 solid linemen, but they're returning every single position player.
Wow.
If they were allowed to go 7 wide, they could go 7 wide with the talent they have.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that crazy. Stepping in the quarterback spot is Semino Manson, who is a dual threat quarterback.
Yep.
He can throw like Robbie, but he's got can run the rock and tuck and go as needed. They're 2-0 at this point, and they're getting their best player back, Antonio Martin.
Yeah.
Who can go in the slot.
He's been banged up for a while, all the way from back last season,
yeah,
right?
well, that's
and then basketball kind of something lingered with him too,
yeah,
I
I think like the last 4 games last season he was out.
Yeah.
I think it was a knee. I'm not 100% sure, but
Trey Martin's younger brother, man. You know, you coming from that stock, boy. I'll tell you what, he's those two are very talented athletes.
He reminds me of Debo Samuel, where you can put him in a jet sweep, you can put him in the slot, you can put him in the backfield and let him run the ball. I think he's going to be running the ball when they don't go 5 wide. They'll put him back there, take those duties over. They beat Dover, 14-6. Good win last week. Beat South Range 21-7.
Yeah.
South Range comes in the last 3 years. They're 39-2.
Jeez.
Wow. They would be, and honestly, if it wasn't for Kirtland, South Range won state last year, beating up on Ironton.
Shout out to Mr. Yegley, man, going out on top.
And if it's not for Kirtland, South Range would be working on a 5-peat right now.
Jeez.
Because the only team they've lost to besides besides Green last week is Kirtland. Yeah. So pretty
strong
impressive
football there in the Mahoning Valley.
So 2 good wins, like you said. They're ramping up. Going to be heading into facing Jackson, McKinley, Glen Oak, real soon. So they're going to need to. I think they're going to go 3-0. I forget that they got Talmadge this week, so they should wrap that one up. Be 3-0 going into league play. So
yeah, I know one thing you mentioned there that you lost 2 really good linemen. A few of those guys, or one that really stuck out to me over the last couple of years for them. One I think was probably one of the better tackles around in the area, and maybe even the state for that matter, was C.J. Dawson. But they got a young man who's playing there now at tackle. I believe he started since early in his sophomore year, maybe even late in his freshman year. His name is Ben Casper. And I don't know, something about just an offensive tackle, Rod. His last name is Casper. I don't know.
Well, there used to be a great tight end at Notre Dame named Casper.
Yeah, goes to the post, whatever it might be, man. I'll tell you what, Ben Casper, he's a great baseball player. He's got the feet that you talked about. You got to be able to move. And when you're relying on your line with an empty backfield and you know that nobody's going to play you straight, they're going to be blitzing, and that tackle is one-on-one. And you've got to be able to protect that blind side for your quarterback to be able to find one of those 5 receivers out there in traffic. That can be a scary position to put yourself in, but some of the fiercest competitors at offensive tackle embrace that type of position.
Oh, especially on an audible, right? Think about this. They get up to the line of scrimmage, they're ready to go, and all of a sudden there's an audible. You got about 3 seconds to figure out, who am I going to block now?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And so offensive linemen that can pick that up, and as you mentioned, TJ, with that intensity and the challenge, that's what it's all about.
All right, as we look to talk about the Marlington Dukes, new coach in there this year, Jeff, tell us a little bit about what Marlington's been able to do. I know last week, and Jim, we're going to get a chance to break down your game here just after this. Louisville is going to take on Northwest. Northwest is going to travel over to Louisville, but Northwest and Marlington just held court and banged it out last week, and that was a close, tight ball game.
Yeah, Marlington edged them out 31-21. Marlington's got new head coach Joe Cardinal, who is really going to more of a spread and go offense.
Yeah.
So it just kind of seems to be the theme. We're doing very few games now where there's a true running back in there, or a lot of teams are doing this 5 wide and getting it and going. Quarterback Bryson McCord, solid kid. He's got 2 good receivers. This kind of reminds me. You guys make fun of me. I always bring up Fairless, but they're 2 wide receivers. Listen, no, Bo
Once a segment. That's all.
No.
You get once a segment.
Look, Bo Himmelhuber and Ty Knock. Okay,
Yeah.
Here's my point. Bo is starting to get double teamed now. Well, you saw there before when you got 2 good receivers. A lot of times one guy shows up early, and then you start rolling the safety over, double teaming them. That's what's happening, and that's allowing Ty Knock now to come out and start showing out a little bit. So they're a dual threat. That's going to be a problem for a lot of people.
And I believe Himmelhuber's brother Blaine was just there a few years back. So you got some talent that's kind of run down there through some brothers playing alongside each other. One guy on the defensive side of the ball I know has really kind of stuck out, and I believe had a pretty good wrestling season last year. Jim was Quentin Hancock's, and he's kind of that tough middle of the defense type guy that again when you're relying on a smaller school. To have a stud in the middle like that, it always helps. I mean, especially on defense. Set the tone, set it early, lay a couple big shots, and just take the fight out of the other team.
No, absolutely. Solid wrestler. And again, and Rod and I were talking a little bit about that prior too, just that wrestling, number one, the mentality, but number 2, the techniques that come with, that sport of wrestling. I know it's tough to transition from, the fall right into that winter sport, but the hand fighting, the hip position, moving those feet, and it definitely shows in his linebacker play.
All right, before we break down these games here that'll be coming up on Friday night, want to make a special shout-out to all of our partners here at Stark Media. Again, it starts with our friends at Hilscher Clark Electric Company, the Eagles FOE 190 in downtown Massillon, McNeil & Sons Tree Service, Lindsay's Pizza. Make sure to check out my guy, John Lindsay, 477-3800, official post-game pizza of the Stark Media team. LPL Financial, H&H Truck Parts, C.H. Vallis & Associates, Apex Surgical, Miracle Motors 42. And again, we always want to thank our good friends that serve our country, that have made the ultimate sacrifice, our men and women in arms, our friends at the Leathernecks Nation MC, the SAM Center, and Save22.vet. Make sure you check out those different groups and organizations around the area. They do a lot for us. All right, guys, again, transition time here, JB. Jimmy B, you're going to be out there at Louisville. Northwest is going to roll into town. I know that I guess one thing we didn't get a chance to touch on with the Hoover Vikings here is as they've kind of rolled into the season with a tailback that has transferred over from Northwest, Kyler Miraglia. So no more Miraglia in the backfield.
That was fun calling that name every
Yeah, there you go, man.
I think I hit Moriarty a couple times. I don't know what happened, but
That's all right, man.
Yeah,
Hey,
Tim's like, Jim, what are you doing?
You have problem names with a vowel, Jim?
At the end, what can I say? Yeah.
Sorry, Mark Milano. No shots at you, man. But you kind of think about some things that Northwest has had to replace. Boy, lost a guy like Riley Plotner, another huge offensive tackle in the area. You lose Miraglia. You bring back Chase Badger. I believe you still got Satterfield there. But Coach DeMarco has got to kind of retool some things. And then you look at Chris Kappas, who was, I believe, won the award for offensive coordinator in the country last year in FCS when he was down at Austin Peay. Had a great run there at Mount Union through a bunch of those national championships, was one of Vince Karras' right-hand guys. He's now come back to town. He's taken over the Louisville Leopards.
Right. Wow.
And I know that they're trying to get things back on track over there. And that's a community over there that thrives when their football program is strong. So they've got a great head coach running the ship here now. You've got to kind of try and figure out a way to put it all together, and you're going to take on Northwest this week. What are you kind of looking forward to most heading over there into Leopard Nation?
I'll tell you what, Coach DeMarco is not foreign to rebuilding and tooling and putting things together.
He's not foreign to Louisville either.
Well, I was going to kind of go there. Actually, I've been told that's the storyline, right?
Right.
But we don't ever want to take the storyline away from the kids, right? I mean, the kids are the storyline. What happens, between the lines is the storyline. But, yeah, you're right, Tej. I mean, John, a long-time coach out there. So, yeah, we'll see how the crowd – I'm interested to see how the crowd responds.
There's always a great crowd for Louisville Northwest anytime I've been there.
It'll be good. But I think the big thing with Coach D is he doesn't want to start 0-3, right? I mean, last time Northwest started 0-3 was in 2012. So, I mean, that's something that I know Coach is going to work, to make sure it does not happen. And again, like you said, Chris Kappas, first year, coming in 1-1 last week with a shutout win over Zanesville, right? 22-0. So he put that goose egg up on, shout out to his defense. And, if he can win this next one, another first, if you will, for a while, right? That'll be the first time Louisville's went 2-1 since 2019. So, both coaches, a lot there on their minds as they get ready to go. Again, I think you're right. I mean, with Coach DeMarco heading back in that stadium, how he's received by the crowd and so forth, I think will be interesting. But, Tim Budd and I, we're ready, man. We're excited.
Yeah,
ready to go.
it should be a good one. Louisville, in my opinion, Louisville needs to get this one because they're not in a federal league. However, their next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games are federal league teams, right?
Lake, Perry, Glen Oak.
They go Hoover, Lake, Perry, Green, Glen Oak, and then you get to wrap it up with South Range.
Why not? Why not? Well, last year,
South Range and then Steubenville.
Sorry,
so they've got a tough go of it, with competition. We realize Coach Kappas is starting ground zero for the most part and trying to get those kids pushing forward and get their mentalities hard, tougher. But I think he'll do it. I hope he'll be there for a long time because I think he's a good fit for that community. Like you said, they love their football over there. So I think it's a good fit. And I hope he can stay there a long time and just build that program back to what it was.
So for you guys coming up on Friday night, you're going to get a chance to go over there to my old stomping grounds. Well, it wasn't over in that general vicinity. I was more on a 44th Street stomping grounds. Back when they had the you had the little hump going through the middle of the field. You could get a little speed going downhill. Now you got the beauty of Bob Cummings Field and all that they've done over there on that beautiful campus right over between Easton and Schneider. Rod, heading over there, that, again, we mentioned Glen Oak got to find a way to bounce back after just taking one on the chin from the Tigers. And T.J. Parker, he has. I've said this many times. I had a chance to speak at the North-South banquet as one of their featured speakers 2 years ago. And I shouted out T.J. Parker in the crowd amongst all of the teams from around the state of Ohio. And I said, T.J. Parker, I'm totally impressed with the way you run your program up there. Young dude, knows the game, discipline, attitude, toughness, don't make mistakes. And they've got some boys up front there. I mean, think about some of the lineage just come through that program with the guys like Billy Price, who set the all-time start record at Ohio State. And I believe they have the young man. He may have transferred out, but the Robinson kid who was playing defensive end, who had offers from Georgia, Michigan. Year in, year out, Austintown Fitch has had a strong, strong program in Northeast Ohio. So you better be ready to go when you take on the Falcons.
Right. And looking at their first 2 games, they beat Euclid 40-6. And they fell to Central Valley 35-36. They lost by 1. Their quarterback in the second game was the MVP of the second game, and I'm trying to get his name right here. His name is, sorry folks, Deshaun Vaughn.
He's been there starting for a couple of years now.
Yeah, Deshaun. He had about 216 yards passing last week, a couple TDs, one pick. And I know that this will be a tough, good game for Glen Oak because losing that bad or getting pounded that bad by a team, you got to get up.
Yeah.
You got to get back up. And I'm sure that the Glen Oak and the organization there is going to get those kids fired up, ready to go. And I'm looking forward to going over there.
Confines of your own stadium. And, Jeff, I believe you and I had a chance to call the basketball game where we saw Deshaun Vaughn out there at Glen Oak.
Yeah.
And remind me, who were they playing? Boy, I'm drawing a blank on that right now.
I'm blanking.
But they came in, or I believe it was a regional or it was a quarterfinal inside of the district tournament. And Deshaun Vaughn is just an overall stud athlete. I'm not sure if he's doing anything in the spring, but he's all of a great 2-sport athlete inside of those hallways. So you better know the defense. I know is after giving up 56 points, they better be targeting in on the best player, and it's going to start with the quarterback, number 2.
Yeah. How about those Glen Oak guys, though? They're going to say, we played the best. I mean, what do you say after, right? I mean, they played.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
I think they're going to be fine. I think you guys are going to see an awesome game.
Yeah, I hope so. And we talked about that. There's 2 ways you can handle it. There's some adversity from last week. Week 1 was sloppy, but you got the win, right? You can win sloppy. You did. You got pounded last week by Mousen. Okay, not unexpected necessarily, but you're playing great teams, like you said. It's the message, and we know what the message from Coach Scott Garcia is. He's as hard-nosed as anybody.
Yep.
And it's time to go.
Right.
You guys got you slapped in the mouth. Now it's
Strap it
time
up.
to do the same this week to them.
Yeah. A little trivia, TJ. So, had I not moved to Perry in 7th grade, I would have been a Glenwood Eagle.
Oh, boy. Flapping
You'd
those
be
wings.
up on a Hall of Fame wall there
with
Mr. Downing
He'd
over
be out
there.
there spreading his wings. I'll tell you what.
Talk about Eagles. You are a member of the FOE too, right?
Yeah, yes, I am.
I remember that.
I am an official card-carrying member.
You
Thank
are.
you for bringing that up.
You are an Eaglet, baby.
I'm an Eaglet.
Yes. Well, we talked about his initiation last year.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
Yeah, we had fun.
I
with
was
that.
I was initiated to a lot of different crews last year.
Yes,
Boy, man,
yes,
what a,
you were.
What a great time it was. And, I'm looking forward to a great time heading down there to see my boy Garth Evans, athletic director at Sandy Valley, seeing my old nemesis from the Perry Panthers, Brian Gamble, who is coaching those Cardinals down there, and my 9th grade football coach, who happens to be the superintendent at Sandy Valley, Dave Fisher. So I had a lot of chewing on my ear from that guy back in the day, trying to keep me in line before I stretched my wings into Hall of Fame level.
Yes.
Dave Fisher made sure to keep my attitude in check, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they compete at home. Nick Petro, we talked about some of his weapons, the Gillian All-Ohio receiver coming back, Davis, but Poochie Schneider, boy, you better keep a lid on top of that offense, or they can explode out there quick. Rod, you talked about some of the numbers that they put up. I mean, they just when your output is 40, 50 a game, strap up.
I mean,
you better find a way to slow it down.
109 points in your first 2 games.
There you go.
It's
We're
almost,
averaging
like
over 50.
it's almost like a basketball schedule.
It's been 3 years there of that.
Yeah.
That's how it is. If Canton South could figure out how to play a little bit of defense and put 40+ up like they have been, good night.
Yeah. And I think that was the situation last year when I believe it was it the Field Falcons that they ended up playing, or was it West Jefferson, I believe, that they played? And it was a hell of a game in like the regional semifinals, I believe, but it was just finding a defense to make a stop. That's what it comes down to. Don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case this Friday, but when you get into those dogfights and you get into the playoffs, all we're asking for is a stop. So you find a way to get that done, and I'll tell you what, I'm putting my money behind Poochie Schneider.
Look, sometimes you, as a defensive coach, you say, we got to hold them below 18, and we're good.
Yep.
You hold them below 42, you're probably got a W.
Yeah, we had.
I mean,
Okay, keep him under 42. Yeah.
Well, we had
okay.
an equation. Jim Trussell had an equation for us at Ohio State that said, if we score at least 24 points on offense, we know that our defense will hold them under 20.
Right.
So score 24 at least, and expect that your defense is going to hold them under 20. Now that's at a Division I collegiate level. Reverse that to, let's say, Canton South. If we score 40 and we can keep them under 35, we're good.
Yep.
We should win 97% of the ball games.
Yep.
And if you can't do that in a shootout, he or she who has the last ball, who has the ball last, can knock you off, right?
Yep. There you go.
I'm with you, TJ. You ever won the Big Ten championship? We averaged 41 points a game.
Wow.
And I looked at, of course, my best friend and my teammate was defense. I said, you think you can hold them?
I mean, what else do you want us to do here?
Defense, boys, come here.
Come
Let's
on.
talk.
You give it 41.
Jeez, come on, man. We're working overtime
You
over
should have
here.
went 2 ways, brother.
Talking Sandy Valley, and I look out at our beautiful GoPro there.
Yeah.
Sandy Valley is very famous.
They saved us, yeah.
It saved
They
us,
saved
did it
us.
not?
And we want to mention something special here, too, that check out all of our social media platforms at Stark Media Team. We're going to have a special deal that we're going to be doing with Vince Costello down there, a tribute to him as they look to build a statue down there in honor, in memoriam of Vince Costello and all that he meant to that community, to the Ohio Bobcats, to the Cleveland Browns. And so just follow along. We'll have some videos coming out. We've got some announcements that we'll be making. Looks like there's going to be a heck of a party coming down the line there in Magnolia first week of October. So we'll continue to update you on that, and that's going to wrap it up for us here on our first edition this year, 2023, of Stark Media High School Football Weekly here inside the Presentation Center at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Again, presented always by our friends at Hilscher Clark Electric Company and the Eagles FOE 190. All right, for myself, TJ Downing, Jim Bostic, my guy, Jeff Tyler, the natural, and Rod Strata, big time. And I appreciate you guys joining me here today, and we'll be back as we continue to break down high school football all the way, as they say, right? The march to Canton, the march to Tom Benson, right? Put the shades on.
Shades on,
time
baby.
time
Let's
to play.
go.
When the lights are bright right here inside of Tom Benson, you know you're going to be playing for a state championship, and that's what it's all about. So we'll see who's got the game to get it done, and we'll continue to roll along here. Appreciate everybody tuning in to us. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Great night, everybody.